Hello, Master Plan fam, and welcome to our masterclass for March 2025. Today, we are doing a class that I think many of you are really going to love because it is about planning. It is the art of daily planning. And I've put together for you guys kind of a little bit of a philosophy that I have when it comes to planning on a daily basis, right? Making this a regular habit, but also thinking about planning in terms of the way I think about it is that planning is one part structure and one part flow, right? That there are certain structures that we want to use that can help us to make better plans. But then also, we all know that life for many of us is very unpredictable. And so we have to have these flow elements as well in our planning and kind of getting used to that idea. Because I do think for many of us, there's a little bit of a mindset that once I've made a plan, if the plan does not go according to plan, we throw out the entire plan, right? Like we get this all or nothing mindset, or we feel bad or we judge ourselves if we planned wrong, or we think we planned wrong, like, oh, I forgot about this, right? But really, planning is guessing, right? That's all planning really is. It can be an incredibly useful tool for helping you to organize your thoughts and your tasks and your projects and your objectives to get them done more efficiently and effectively. But ultimately, planning is something that should be more of a fluid process anyway. So we're going to kind of talk about daily planning in that respect today. And I have some activities for us to do. We have a workbook that goes along with this class as well, which I just kind of put the workbook underneath of us. You guys will want to have it out to work through. And it is a really nice, I've kind of like truncated the major points. So again, if you wanted to just kind of like quick and dirty read through it to refresh things, that should be helpful, hopefully. So the art of daily planning. So, daily planning isn't just about making to-do lists. It's about knowing exactly what you need to execute on so you can bring your big goals and ideas to life. So often, people fall into the trap of writing out long, unrealistic task lists without any real connection to their long-term vision. But true daily planning is a strategic process. It's about bridging the gap between our biggest aspirations and the small, intentional actions that we'll take each day to make them happen. Within my functional planning methodology, we break down our goals in a way that ensures progress while maintaining flexibility. On a yearly basis, we set our big goals and we craft a roadmap for achieving them. On a quarterly basis, we check in on those goals and we work towards specific milestones to stay on track and adjust our approach as necessary. Monthly, we manage all of the raw tasks that need to be completed and allocate them across our weeks. Weekly, we focus on time management and ensure that every priority is getting the attention it deserves. And daily, we execute, identifying the most important tasks, keeping visibility in our schedule, and using productivity and prioritization strategies to work efficiently. Each step in this process is like a chain, connecting our long-term vision to the actions we take every day. And while annual goal setting requires the most thought and preparation, every step further down this chain becomes a simpler and more streamlined process. So by the time we get to daily planning, it should be the quickest and easiest part of the process. Just a few minutes each day to align our focus and ensure that we're moving in the right direction. So I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I mean, for many of you who've been with me for a while and have worked through these processes with me over a process of a year or more, I would hope that you guys can see the logic, the sense in how we spend more time at the beginning of the year laying things out, and then quarterly we check in and do a portion of the work, and then monthly we do a little portion of the work, and then weekly, and then daily is actually when we do the stuff. Isn't that funny? We do all these levels of planning, but in the day-to-day, that's when we actually execute on the tasks, right? So by the time things filter down to it's something that's on the to-do list for today, it's gone through, if you've been using functional planning processes, it's gone through a number of levels of checks that says this is something that is important and should be done, right? And so with that comes the idea that daily planning, it's something we have to do every day, but it shouldn't take too long. Like the most important part is doing, not working on the daily plan. Okay, so at the same time, because daily planning is where plan meets execution, it's important to balance structure and flexibility. The best laid plans are useless unless they don't account for real life, the unexpected shifts in priorities, last minute obligations, and natural fluctuations in our energy. This is why I always keep my daily planning simple. Over planning at this stage, right? Daily planning, if you're over planning your daily plan, right? This can create a negative domino effect where one small disruption can derail an entire schedule and leave us feeling overwhelmed or behind. A well-structured yet adaptable plan ensures that even if things shift, you can still make meaningful progress without getting stuck in perfectionism or frustration. So in this class, in this guide, okay, we'll dive into the core principles of daily planning, the key components of a well-structured day, and the prioritization strategies that will help you streamline your tasks and maximize your productivity. More importantly, we'll also address the common pitfalls and mindset blocks that often make planning feel overwhelming or ineffective. By the end, you'll have a clear system for making daily planning effortless and empowering so you can stay focused, take meaningful action, and create the results you desire, okay? So I see excitement already in the comments. Okay, thank you. So part one is the core philosophy of daily planning. So daily planning isn't just about writing down a to-do list. It's about knowing exactly what you need to execute on so you can bring your big goals and ideas to fruition. A well-structured daily planning routine ensures that actions you take each day are directly aligned with your long-term goals. In my functional planning methodology, we work through a layered approach to planning that ensures progress while maintaining flexibility. This is kind of just recapping what we said in the intro, but yearly planning is where we set clear intentional goals for the year and map out a high-level roadmap to bring them to life. Quarterly planning, we check in with those goals, ensuring we're hitting key milestones and adjusting the roadmap as necessary. Monthly planning, we manage all the raw tasks that we need to accomplish, allocating them across our weeks to ensure steady progress. We focus on a weekly basis on managing our time efficiently, ensuring that each priority is given the attention it deserves. And then daily planning, we get focused on execution, identifying the most important tasks, maintaining visibility to our schedule, and using productivity and prioritization strategies to work efficiently. Balancing structure and flexibility. Because daily planning is where plans meet execution, it needs to be structured enough to provide clarity, but flexible enough to adapt to real life. One of the biggest mistakes people make with planning is try to over-control every moment of their day. But the reality is that life happens, meetings run over, tasks take longer than expected, unexpected priorities pop up, and our energy fluctuates. You know what? I'm thinking about this right now for you guys who are here with me live. How often do you think this happens to you? I don't have a statistic to compare this against, but if you make a task list, right, or a plan for your day, how often, what percentage of that plan do you feel like gets interrupted, right? What do you feel like actually gets interrupted? How often does life hit you, right, and change your plans? What percentage? Because I would just like to hear what you guys think. Like I said, I don't have a statistic. I should probably maybe look into a statistic. But Erica says all of it. So you make a plan and none of it goes to plan. So something else takes over. That's an interesting thing that we might want to talk about when we get to our chat, because I think these are things that we need to learn from, really. You know what I mean? And so I would love this class to be something where we're really breaking down. If you are someone, I think that that's on one end of the spectrum, being someone who does make a thoughtful plan and then it just never goes, it just doesn't happen. There's things that we can do to mitigate that. And then I think on the other end, I don't think it's possible that someone makes a plan and 100% of it goes to plan. But in the way I do my planning, right, I would say I do have days where I hit 100%, right? But that's because I plan for the white space and the flow elements, right? So I put unexpected into my planning. So let's see. This is just so interesting. Mostly, so I actually prefer not having an actual detailed list. So another one, nature is another one on one side of the spectrum where there's a lot of change. Jessica says definitely 60 to 70%. Which actually, guys will actually learn, there is a statistic I put in here that is in line with that, Jessica, that might actually be insightful for some of us. Tanya says 25%. Stephanie says all the time. I'm my own worst enemy, though. I derail myself with other new ideas. Understood. And Donna says about 25% scuppered. Ooh, That's an interesting, that must be a Britishy word. Oh, I like it, scuppered. Okay, so this is why I keep my daily plans as simple as possible, because over planning at this stage tends to create a negative domino effect where one small disruption can cause everything else to fall apart. I think we can kind of understand that. If you have your entire day planned like hour by hour, and then one thing goes a little bit too long, then you've now hit a domino effect where the next thing is late and the next thing is late. And then if there's another interruption or another thing runs late, dominoes just keep falling and things fall off the board entirely for the day, right? So this is where we get a lot of frustration, overwhelm, and feeling like we're behind, right? We're kind of in this situation, I hope you could see that we're kind of putting ourselves in that situation when we set ourselves up in that sort of a domino effect planning where if one thing goes wrong, we're automatically feeling behind. So really the issue is isn't your ability to execute, but the rigidity of your planning. And that's something that I just want to take a moment, of course, to also maybe you guys highlight this, remember this. Just because your plan did not happen or it got thrown off, it is not a reflection on your ability to get things done. It is more a reflection on that plan being too rigid, right? So I know this is how we all kind of get our identities tied up with our productivity. And how you guys know that you guys are with me for a while. You guys have heard me talk about how I think women have a major productivity problem, but the problem is not that they're not productive. It's that they're so productive and they're just holding themselves to crazy standards that don't make sense. This is one of those things. So I want you to remember that if you're feeling like, oh, I'm not a good planner, I'm so bad at this, I'm so lazy, I'm always behind, I can't get my ish together. If you are making these really highly detailed plans all the time that are not happening, no wonder you feel like you're behind, because you're in that plan, you're setting an expectation and you're not hitting it, right? So you're setting yourself up to let yourself down, which let me tell you, we got some mindset stuff we could unpack with that. If that hits anyone, that's another thing we might want to talk about a little bit more in the Q&A, right? In our coaching at the end, because I think that sometimes there is this trap that we do where we set ourselves really high expectations and then we don't necessarily believe in ourselves that we can do it, and then we fail, and then we become our own self-fulfilling prophecy, and that's how we keep ourselves small and not making any progress, right? That's a whole nother trap we can put ourselves into. Okay, so instead of aiming for a perfect daily plan, I encourage you to focus on clarity and flexibility. Have a clear vision of what actually needs to get done, right? And prioritize the tasks that truly move the needle. I know a lot of people say, when I'm making my plan, I just don't know what the priority tasks are, right? And I do believe to some extent this is true, but I also believe that I know if you had an actual list in front of you and I said, let's look at the list and what things on the list, if you did not get them done today, are going to cause a fire, cause an issue later. They're going to hold up some project or some work, right? That's important to you. Then you would be able to say, okay, well, I do that. Then this thing is important for sure, right? So if you ask yourself the right questions, if you frame it the right way, right, you can see the true priority of a task and how in the order of operations of getting things done, some things have to be done before other things get done, right? Like you have to bake the cake before you can ice it. You know what I mean? But I think a lot of times what ends up happening is we think that certain tasks might be easier for us to do. We think that certain tasks we have the time for, and so we skip over things, right? Or we get interruptions or people come in and interrupt us and give us more work to do, and then that, distracts us away from our list. But truly, if we take the time to actually look, I think we would be able to at least identify some tasks that really do have a high priority, that are going to be things that are important and move the needle, right? They have a heavy weight. So the next point here is allowing room for adjustment. So if something unexpected comes up, you should be able to shift your schedule without throwing everything into chaos, right? So if your boss says, hey, I want to hop on a call with you for 20 minutes, and you were not planning on that call, right? How can you rework your schedule and look at that plan and say, okay, so if this is going to take up 20 minutes in my day, hopefully my hope would be, a 20-minute detour is something that hopefully, by the time we're at the end of this class, you'll be able to start planning in enough white space to cover something like that. Because that's not too, I don't think a 20-minute call is too unreasonable. But, let's say your kid was sick and you had to go pick them up and then and take them to the doctor's. Okay, so that's like the rest of your day is gone. You know what I mean? So there's different situations, and being able to say, I can look at my schedule and say, okay, I'm not going to get a lot of this done today, but what are the few things that I am going to have to get done? You know what I mean? And saying that I'm going to prioritize these as soon as I get back to work, right? To be able to say that and to stick to it is very important. Keeping your plan simple and actionable. So the more complex your daily plan, the more likely it is to fall apart. Right? So again, putting too many things on your list for the day, right? That's going to set you up for failure. Making sure that you're not putting things on your list that you're not really ready to do yet, right? So if you're still waiting for, I don't know, Susan in accounting to get back to you so that you can finish this project, that project is just going to be sitting on your to-do list until you get the actionable items, right? So it probably shouldn't go on your to-do list until you have the things ready, unless Susan's like, I'm definitely getting you this stuff by 2 today. So then you can have some reasonable expectation to say, okay, I'm going to be able to do this after 2. You know what I mean? So keep your plan simple and keep it to things you can actually accomplish. Daily planning isn't about controlling every second of the day. It's about setting yourself up for success while leaving space for the natural flow of life. So part 2 is the structure component of that well-planned day. Like I said, structure, flexibility, and flow, right? We have to balance those two things in order to, I think, have a really well-planned day. I hope you've enjoyed this clip from the Art of Daily Planning Masterclass. You can watch the full on-demand replay of this class and get the accompanying workbook exclusively inside the Charmed Life Mastermind. The Mastermind is my productivity, planning, and personal development group coaching community for ambitious women like you who want to take their lives from busy to balanced and transform themselves from overwhelmed to overachiever. Mastermind members get instant access to hundreds of on-demand classes, coaching calls, and planning sessions, a library of planning, time management, and mindset resources, and get 3 new live calls with me each month. This month, I'm running a special promotion on the annual membership subscription, so click the link down below to become a member today and get the accountability you need to make this your best year yet.